Hi guys, it is 1:33 p.m. on Tuesday, the 157th day I'm doing this. Here is your daily dose of hope. And I've had another massive weekend. Some coconut oil. And I'm using the show Caesar Milan to help me. Well, I'm not doing it on purpose per se, but what I'm doing is I'm facing triggers is what I'm doing. So I'm just trying to watch a show and enjoy myself, right? But watch something that's like good for me, which this is about dog psychology, which I find psychology, as you probably know by now, very fascinating. And anyway, what happened today was a dog was going to the vet and they were throwing a fit and being aggressive and everything. That was not the trigger for me. The trigger was Caesar saying, well, yeah, people let him get away with it. And it hit me because I was open, which is all a good thing, and all that. That is why I have a lot of justified anger. Doesn't mean I take it out on anyone, but that is why I have a lot of justified anger, because people got away with things that they should not have gotten away with, right? And it's ultimately a good thing, that awareness, because if I didn't have that level of awareness, then I probably would have just turned off the show, or I would have been like, what's wrong with you? Why are you crying? Why are you feeling scared? Like, this is coming out of the blue. No, it's not at all. So that being said, I released some more. And what I did for the anger, actually, even though I wanted to like scream and yell, but I'm not going to do that unless I'm in like a, that's why I want to do soundproof booths, I really do. But anyway, but what I did is I kind of like hissed, like I was like, like that type of thing. And it felt really good. It felt like the, poison was coming out. And every time that I'm like, why is it still like this? It's like, because you've never addressed it. You know how to make the best of something. You know how to go into survival mode. You know how to be codependent. You know how to be a martyr. But what you don't know yet, you're learning, is how to stand in your power and release. So, was it that I had to cry at that moment? No. But was it safe to? Was it appropriate to? Again, the answer is yes. And so I did, It was just incredible because it was like, yeah, okay. So use that anger to then continue to move forward and expand. Instead of, when you feel discontent, instead of saying don't feel discontent, I would recommend, from personal experience, saying, why do you feel discontent? And it's just interesting because I watched this video yesterday and the person was talking about how, they had been in bed crying for weeks, and then one day they're like, I'm sick of this, like, I'm going to take charge. And sometimes, including me, right, that's the thing, is like, we think, why did we stay in bed for weeks? But I'm actually starting to believe and experience that it's possible that the day that they woke up and they said, I'm sick of this, and they did something different, is because they spent that time releasing, right? Like, you can't necessarily jump over that and actually be healed. So it's kind of like if someone got their arm broken, and after being in a cast, and doing what you have to do for several months, the cast is then removed and the arm is better. It's healed. You can't skip over the cast, And I think that's what I absolutely try to do my whole life. And the reality is, the facts are, because I did that, because I kept pulling as hard as I could, I stayed in really bad situations for me way too long. So if I'm trying to establish trust within myself that I can protect myself and I can be open to people because I know how to protect myself, you know, then it starts with realizing the times that I didn't protect myself because I didn't know better, you know, and letting those parts of me that were very badly injured come forth and say, hey, that wasn't okay. It's like, yeah, you're right. And I think of like even like 12-step programs, it's like, you know, you talk about like, and you make amends to the people you've hurt. Well, I need to make amends to myself because I hurt myself instead of hurting anybody else. And that needs to be just as important, you know. So anyway, that being said, today's quote is, she stood in the storm, and when the wind did not blow her way, she adjusted her sails. And, you know, I see that because I kind of see it as I'm on my path. Everybody's on their own path, and that's totally fine. But like I'm on my path, and I'll see people along my path. I'll meet them along my path. And I see them not doing things that they absolutely are capable. And I don't mean capable like if they face their fears. I just mean straight up capable. And they have resources, and they have time, and they have support. And I just am like, I'm literally trying to do like the opposite, you know? And that's fine, and there's no judgment. It's more of just reminding myself, hey, you want to keep going on your path. So as you unlock things and you're like, okay, I'm no longer going to, you know, succumb to this, you also need to be like vigilant of, don't let someone else's energy bring you back down again, you know? And I'm not only releasing emotionally, but I'm releasing energy. Like I'm collecting my own energy back. And I see it in these kind of almost micro pivots where it's like, normally you would do this. That doesn't seem to be a big deal, but the facts are you did something different and you feel a little better. So that did actually make a difference, type of thing. So that being said, I mean, I'm really creating like energetic boundaries too. And I feel a difference. It's like, yeah, you might be exposed to the poison multiple times a week. You're not responsible for getting rid of that poison all the time. Like you're responsible for your half, like what you do, right? And it's just showing me in the past how I would take responsibility because no one else would. Because I can't imagine some of the things that people have done to me, like ever doing that to someone else. I just can't imagine that, doing that to someone else. So obviously I'm not going to do that. But it's not about like having limited beliefs. It's about, are you taking responsibility for something that's not your responsibility? And is that hurting you in the process? And is that draining energy for the stuff you actually should be able to do? You know? And that's absolutely what's happening. So ultimately, it's more awareness, it's more progress, it's more growth, and it's bringing more energy back to me, which is where it belongs. My energy, you know? And I did start making a list of tasks and things that are, you know, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter, but they require low amount of mental effort and emotional, medium, and high. And telling myself, do the low mental effort when your daughter's here and when you have energy. So you're not unnecessarily taxing your system and, you know, stressing yourself out more. I just never even had the wherewithal to even think I had the right to audit and be like, what even is going on? Because I was always in such crisis and survival mode to keep myself physically safe. But I'm not in that anymore. So now it's like, okay, so you just have to remember that. And it's 144. And 44 is like, my number. So anyway, that being said, I work really hard on this. Not because I sit down and I'm like, what are the problems? I'm just trying to live my damn life. And then I hit something and I'm like, okay, so in this moment you have choices. You can back down, and be like, you can face it, and you can realize, okay, facing it's going to take energy, but overall that's in the right direction as opposed to backing down, and kind of hiding. And I'm all about building momentum and traction, and I'm really good at that. But what I was not good at is then defending that and protecting that. I would just let people like knock my castle down over and over and over again. And that's the part I'm not willing to do anymore. And again, though, that takes energy to rewire your own patterns. So ultimately, it's exciting is my point. And I see how emotional release could really be something I could help people with because I'm going through it myself. And I'm really having to puzzle piece it, but it's important. And yeah, like I've said, if you're not naturally like an angry person, if you know that you're not, I would say the next time you feel frustrated, like stop and don't tell yourself don't feel frustrated. Don't tell yourself feel grateful, because that's shutting down a part of you that's having a feeling in that moment. So it's like trapping the emotion. And then it's intensifying the emotion underneath the surface. These things come to the surface so they can be gone. They can be released. They can be let go of. So if it starts to come to the surface and it's appropriate to release it, but you just shove it back down, you won't even let yourself feel, for me at least, that only creates, that's why I'm dealing with the backlog now. Because I was not allowed to feel feelings. I wasn't allowed to have a bad day or a bad moment or tell that, like, I gotta be, So all of that got trapped. And at the same time, I was just getting mixed messages to the hilt of, like, you are not obviously unconditionally loved, whatever. We're not even sure if we love you type of thing, but we're going to say it, but we're not going to show it. And, just a lot of stuff. And this is me climbing out of that every day. And every day at the same time, presenting the best, version of myself I can that day. And I'm having to be quite creative about it. But I don't mind doing that. Because when I imagine certain scenarios, I'm like, okay, but do you actually want that scenario? Like, let's say it's like, well, you could technically just stay in bed all weekend. Are you wanting to do that? Or is that a succumbing? Is that a, And it was interesting because someone asked me if I think I'm depressed. And I took a moment and I said, I'm not depressed, I'm deprived. There's a big difference in my world of, to me, depression, I define depression for myself as like, you have the opportunity to do all this stuff and you just have no interest for no reason. Like it's like an internal thing. Deprivation is like, I want to do these things. I don't have the infrastructure. Like, how can I, possibly do them? And so, yeah, regardless, there's definitely things that I'm still working to accept, but I realized part of the acceptance is letting go of the responsibility too. I'm only responsible for my half. That's just the truth. And I will just continue to be controlled if I allow myself to believe the lie that I'm responsible for fixing other people's, continually, by the way, like reckless behavior, like, not doing what they're supposed to do. That is not my job. So it goes against instinct but it's necessary in order to still keep myself or get myself intact as a human being. Otherwise, I am just going to be under this system for the rest of my life, and I refuse to do that. So, anyway, that being said, you are the sky. You were here yesterday. You're here today. You will be here tomorrow. You deserve to be here every single day. And, whether someone's told you or not, you honestly deserve to be here. You are worthy. And, use your emotions as you are dealing with them yourself as messages of what's going on here. You can learn to counsel yourself. Like if you do a body scan and you realize you have tension, let's say in your shoulder, it's like, what is that about? Like get curious about it, like care about yourself. And like I said, for me personally, a big one is going to be this energetic boundary of like, this is what I'm responsible for, that's it. And just realize that if someone else has responsibility and they don't do what they're supposed to do, that doesn't make you a failure. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, you're not a failure even if the thing seems to fail, because you're responsible for this, So anyway, love you guys. Have a great day.